Yes, my G's. Today I want to talk about setting goals and how that it can improve you as a producer. So in my journey of production, especially over the last 5 or 6 years when I started to really become like a full-time musician, it's been absolutely the reason, or one of the main reasons that I've achieved things that I've wanted to has been through setting goals and setting deadlines and sticking to them. And it's sometimes difficult when you're producing and you're not, it's not like you're employed by a boss, by a company, and you have to sign in to work at this time, or you have to get this job done, otherwise you risk losing your job. So you don't have that with music production. It's really you're kind of just doing it on off your own motivation. So you have to like put a little bit of that, like work ethic, all that kind of work structure into your production if you want to like get good results. So what really helped me to improve and advance my career when I got to a certain point was I put like deadlines in my calendar for when I had to finish certain tracks by. Okay, but I'm gonna break this down for like easier tips as well if you're not quite at that level where you're happy with your tracks either. But like if you're at a point where you're producing tracks that you're happy with the finished result, then it's worth putting together like a little schedule for the year and like setting yourself some targets on like how many tracks you can finish and giving yourself deadlines, and then actually sticking to those deadlines as well. Because the more that you stick to the deadlines and meet them, the more momentum you'll keep up. If you kind of break your own promises and like fail to hit your own deadlines, then you'll end up just like losing motivation as well. So the goal is to like set a deadline that's realistic but meet it, and then meet them consistently. So, but if you're not at that point, if you're not like releasing yet, and also you could be at like, I prefer it when people are like willing to release tracks even if they're not perfect and still build up a collection. A lot of people want to wait for that perfect moment when they're like really, really happy with their sound before they start releasing. But in my opinion, I would say like releasing even when it's not quite perfect is still good, because you can start to build up a catalog and build up a name for yourself. So I use DistroKid to distribute tracks, and if you guys ever want to join DistroKid to distribute your own tracks, I'll leave a link down below. I have like a sign up bonus as well, so you get 10% off and I get 10% off. I think that's the amount anyway. But if you're at like a point where your tracks are pretty good, then I would suggest like using something like that to start releasing and like set your own release schedule up. If you want to do self-releasing, that is. If you want to just stick to labels, then that's fine, but you're going to have to then put in more work in terms of communicating with labels and working by via their schedules as well. But let's say you're not quite at that level where you're like happy to release yet, and you just want to improve your sound more first. Then you can still set like targets and deadlines for getting to that point. So you could do some things like you could even make some like mini tracks, like make tracks that are like only 1 minute long, like kind of ideas, just like build ups and drops and a little outro, like 1 minute long tracks. And you could like set yourself a target to make this many 1 minute like long tracks in a month or something. Like, I don't know, maybe you have to make 3 or 4 in a month, and set yourself like some little deadlines to do them as like training purposes. And then you don't have to obviously release them, but then you've kind of like, you're building up your consistency in your output, and you're not getting like stagnant where you don't have like a goal. So it all comes back to like having a goal. So you can make the goals smaller. They don't have to be like finishing a full track. And you could make a goal like, by the end of the year I want to have one track that I think is release worthy. And then you've just got to set yourself put some time in your diary on when you're going to work on that track to get to that point. But there's many, many things you could do as small goals as well. If you're really, like a beginner as well, for example, you could have like, you could set up little sessions like sound design day, sample library building day, and then like, toying around with like mini compositions as well day. and then you could kind of set yourself up a little structure on like practicing different things, and then in the course of that you can also be like building up a sound design library, building up a sample library, and then building up these little little project stems as well of like your little mini tracks. So there's like many different things you can still do, even if it's not finishing a full track, that can like help get you closer and closer to always, like it can sort of like build that consistency within you, because you have to have that consistency built in and that discipline built in as a producer, because like otherwise, if you have a lazy day, or if you're not feeling it, then you're just not going to do it, because you don't have to. But like setting yourself up some targets and deadlines, and then like making yourself accountable to them, then makes it gives you a lot better chance that you'll actually do the work and put in the hours, and then you'll actually eventually get to that final point that you're heading for anyway. So set those mini goals and those mini targets, and don't think about don't just float around in this kind of make music when I'm off work, maybe if I have time, and then see what happens thing vibe. Like, try not to fall into that sort of just floatiness, hoping something's going to happen. Like, try to like break down where you're at, and like set some targets like in your calendar as well, and like break things down into smaller chunks. If you have to, you can always break things down to smaller chunks, but still set up like a structure. And like having a structure in place is what's going to level you up tenfold, because if you don't have that, you're just going to be like kind of drifting in the wind. You need to have that structure in place. If you guys ever want any help like setting up like a personalized like sort of plan for you, then I cover that in my mentorship sessions as well. So if you are a student of mine and that sounds good, then let me know in the next session. And if you're not a student yet, but if you think that sounds good for you, then book something in, and we can work together to create like a personalized plan for you, like depending on where you're at in your journey and what your goals are, and then like set yourself like realistic targets on how to get to those points. But yeah, for me, like personally, my deadlines and targets revolve around like finishing a new preset pack, signing a new track on my label, finishing a new song of my own, and that kind of stuff. So I'm already at that kind of level where I'm like doing full tracks, or full label releases, or like full like preset packs and stuff like that. But all of those things, like you can break them down and do like these smaller tasks, and make those your goals and your deadlines, and as part of your like evolution and your journey. And I think it's actually a really great idea if you're beginning to do some little like mini tracks or something like that, or build some little sound design folders, or build some little preset folders, or build some sample libraries, do some like recording days, stuff like that you can always use in the long term, because you've got your own sounds that you've created as well. So no matter what level you're at, like anyone can turn on the computer and start making some noise. So even at the very most basic beginning level, you can still set yourself up to like start slowly building things like brick by brick kind of thing. So but yeah, having those goals in place and those targets and like meeting them is the foundation of becoming a like long-term successful producer. You have to have that, otherwise you're just not really going to have as much of a you're not going to have anywhere near as much of a good chance. So hopefully that's a little helpful video for you guys today. It shouldn't be boring either. You should set these targets and these goals and meet them in a fun way. You should do it. You should really enjoy that little grind and that little hustle of like meeting your little targets and your little deadlines. Like, it should be like a little strategy that you're sort of forming. It shouldn't be like, obviously sometimes, producing does feel like work. Sometimes you like fall backwards on a project you thought you were doing well on, and then it's like you went the wrong way or like you lost a project because you didn't save it properly, or like you've bounced something out wrong and you've lost the original, or you've like got loads of problems in your track and you need to fix the mix and there's so much work that needs to be done. Like, yeah, there's always these like little annoying things that come in the way that is just always going to be there, you know. So there are those like points in production where you just got to power through and just grind through without like, you know, you just got to put your feelings to the side and just like get through it. But on a whole, it should be really enjoyable to like set yourself up and like build like a strategy and like a game plan on like how you're going to get to that next level of where you want to be, you know. So it should be like a fun thing you get hyped up about, you know. So that's how I see it anyway. So hopefully that's a little bit of inspiration for you guys. As I mentioned before, like if you want help one-on-one, like setting something like that up for you, then just send me an email saying, look, I like that video, I want to set something like this up for me, let's do a little one-on-one and make like a game plan for me, and then I'll know like that's what we're doing in the lesson. I'm not just layering snares with you, you know. So let me know if that's what you like. And apart from that, that's it from today really. Just a little bit of inspiration. So leave a comment if that helped you out. Like the video, subscribe, all that good stuff. Check out the other links down below as well to my preset packs for Serum, Vital, Phase Plant and Current. And come along and join me on Patreon. If my work on YouTube helps you a lot, then come and support me on there and get some free download, join our Discord and all that stuff. And the email for my mixing and mastering and the link to my calendar for my one-on-one sessions is linked down below as well. All right, that's it for me today. More from me very soon. Much love.